first stuff. I set it all up and I'm like, I set it all by myself, so
Well, you're working with peanuts and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I'll refuse it, please and thank you, Joan.
She just handed it. I'll give him the credit.
Yes.
Oh, doubles.
Yeah. You do it now.
What do you want? We're just gonna go. How many you want?
Just one.
I'm taking care of it. I've got you. I just need.
Are you still lower?
Just because my friend spells it, it's art and C2H. She spelled it with one C
Yeah.
That shows his middle name, so it's very unique.
Yeah.
She's still making me sit up here, chief maybe up there.
You got your table over there.
Really, so you have to do your work? Or do whatever? I can't do that. I'm fighting, leaving you in your cold chair. I leave my chair over there.
I'll give you those. No, I'll stay. I'll move for you now. I just want to make sure. We're going with that.
I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:30. Thank you to everyone who's in attendance. So nice to see a big crowd. Very good. Heather, can you please take attendance?
So I do have everyone in the room, as long as no one else wants to, I've got all your names.
Just have a couple people.
Yep, I've got you. Chairperson Heisenberger,
Here.
Commissioner Leckers.
Here.
Commissioner Reda,
Here.
Commissioner Duval,
Here.
Commissioner Couchner. Absent.
We have a request by Commissioner Duval to move the public comment to the end of the meeting. I'd like to have that made as a motion. Would you add Steve.
Oh. I'll make a motion to move public comments at the end of the meeting.
I'll say second. Seconded by Commissioner Roden. Okay, discussion? Why do you want to move it to the end of the meeting?
So that we can handle our district business and then,
Escape. Okay.
well, everybody has questions as we're going through things, so let's handle our district business. And then if people have questions, we can answer them at the end.
It's not to delay the public comment to the point where some people may get tired and leave early.
No, why?
Because I feel that that could be a little as well. Okay, well,
It's so that we can handle our district business so that we can keep these meetings moving.
okay. Any further discussion? Anything else? All in favor of moving the public comment to the end of the meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
For Robert's Rules of Order, when there's a deadlock, then the motion doesn't pass. Okay, again, we will be following Robert's Rules of Order. Everyone has a chance to speak. Please be respectful. We have people with different opinions, and we have people that want to be heard. Every person will be given no more than 2 minutes to speak, and then after they have their chance, then we can open it up and we can speak again for a second time or so forth. But we do want to make sure that we do move along and we don't have things go too long. I will also entertain a motion if the commissioners want to set a time limit on public comment. Is there any interest in that?
Yeah, I say we stick to the 2 minutes we had the other day, we're fine.
Okay, do you want to set a maximum time limit, let's say 20 minutes for public comment?
Oh, the whole public on? Sure. It's your meeting, we'll let you.
Okay, make a motion.
Motion, individual 2 minutes, a total of 20 minutes.
Okay,
Public comment.
second?
I'll second.
Okay. Second.
Total of 20 minutes for the whole group or for one person?
20
2
minutes
minutes
for the
each.
total public comment period. Okay, we have that motion, we have a second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay, we will open it up to public comment. Any comment from the public? Yes, please state your name.
My name is Deborah Charlebois de Cook. I live at 3330 Bailey Road in the town of East Bloomfield. I pay taxes every year to the East Bloomfield Fire Department. I attempted to vote on 12/13. I was turned away. Initially, I was told that I was not a registered voter. I am certainly a registered voter, and I have been in the East Bloomfield district since 1976, and my current residence since 2006, and I have voted in every election, including fire elections, since that time. In fact, I voted in 2021. I was turned away. I was looked upon rudely by surrounding voters. I gave my name and my number to Heather. The following day, Heather called me and told me that our house had been, quote, redistricted, and the East Bloomfield Fire Department was no longer serving our home. Upon checking with fellow neighbors to the north and the south of us, they have received the same story. And I was actually told, you have no fire department servicing you. What? So, Mr. Commissioners, here's my concern. Why? Why has this info been given? 2, where did my tax money go that I paid to the East Bloomfield Fire Department? Because I'd like it back if you don't service my home. And 3, who services me? So I have called the Board of Elections. I am on the list of registered voters, and they show that my fire district is East Bloomfield. So who removed that information? Also, per the Board of Elections and the Ontario County Fire Commissioner, redistricting can only happen if, 1, all 5 commissioners meet for that specific reason. 2, non-partial registered Democratic and representatives attend the meeting. And 3, any and all affected areas that should be redistricted will have alternative coverage put in place with the neighboring fire departments, and you're all in conjunction with it. So again, how did this happen? Where are the meeting minutes that this happened? Or if it didn't happen, then why such roads as Bailey, Cherry, and Brace Road could not vote in this election? I myself have very close to 23 names that have private messaged me, and that's just me. And at this point, I will tell you, I really don't care who wins this election. My concern is, I get a letter for donations from this fire department, and I can't vote for it. This has become kind of a sham. Actually, it's kind of a farce for the fire department, and it actually kind of borders on fraudulent. You have paper ballots, you have people standing around, people can't vote. I'm concerned. How did this happen? Where is the list? All I know is it was posted on Facebook by your secretary that she was waiting for the Board of Elections to give her an answer. But they gave me one immediately and said that the list that they give you showed that I had this fire department code. So I want to know how that code disappeared. And I also would like to know how you 5 commissioners are going to rectify this. Thank you.
Thank you. I have in my hand a letter from Michael J. Northrup, who's the head of the Board of Elections for the County of Ontario. This states that there was through the Board of Elections, they provided the fire district with an incorrect list. My street, my name was also not able to vote. And this was an error of the Board of Elections. The Board of Elections provides the list once a year to us. We are required by law to obtain the list from the Board of Elections. We don't create the list is provided to us. They had 107 addresses within the fire district of East Bloomfield that they had omitted in the list that they provided to us. They are recognizing that this was their omission and that it has been corrected as of today. I have in my hands also a statement saying that my street and my own Fishbrook Run on Brace Road is now part of the district, always has been, but was omitted from the list along with the others that said. So they are accepting responsibility for this. They also provided for us an option that in future, should this occur, that there is an affidavit that can be signed that it was questionable as of up to the time of the election whether it's a legal instrument, that people who were rejected for vote but have proof that they are a registered voter can put a vote in a paper ballot, sign an affidavit that they're attesting that they are, and that then can be presented to the Board of Elections to be researched the next day. It was contested whether that was a legal, actual thing until I got approval by our lawyer today, because they did follow up on that we are going to have these affidavits available. However, for the Board of Elections, they are only available to be used that day, the day of election. They can't be used afterwards, they can't be used before. So we aren't able to go back in time and change that. But they did acknowledge that was their mistake. We do have 23 names that were taken by Heather who were identified that they were turned away. However, the margin of the amount of votes that were for Commissioner Rhoda and that were for Mr. Long was more than 23.
And I understand
70,
that.
I believe. And we don't know if all 23 were going to vote one way or the other. They could be all split up. So that was their mistake. They have corrected that. As of today, all those addresses are identified as being in the East Bloomfield Fire District. And they always did have fire protection. The chief will tell you there was never a time when Bailey Road was not covered. If you did call, there was a difference between the 911 run cars that are used to dispatch a fire department and this mapping that was done through the auspices of the Board of Elections through Ontario County. And this occurs basically once every 10 years based on the census. The data is analyzed, it's processed in 2021, and in 2022 it gets applied. And this was the first instance where this actually went into play and they discovered that there was an error. They also said that they mail cards out once a year, yellow and white cards to voters to confirm what district you're in. And that if you were in one of those contested areas, you may or may not have gotten a card.
I got one.
It may or may not reflect the fire district. It may say you're in District 2 of East Bloomfield for whatever, but it may or may not reflect the fire district, so that's why they didn't catch it. That's what transpired. Again, I do have that document from Michael Marthrow. And
That's pretty
it's
bad,
been-
107 names.
Excuse me?
That's a lot though, 107 names, it's a small community.
Yeah, it looked like from what I had seen, it looked like they omitted all of Bailey Road from County Road 40 all the way to the town line. So, just based on what I had seen. And then there was a section on Cherry Street. Looks like they, the town line and the fire district line on Cherry Street runs right down the center of the road. And it looks like they had everybody on, so the north side is the Victor Fire District.
And the south side
is
is
East Bloomfield. It looks like that, it looked like they flipped them. They had everybody on the north listed backwards and vice versa. So it appeared to be a board of elections, it turned out to be an election.
That's exactly right. So any questions or any complaints would have to be directed to the Board of Elections. We are required by law, Town Law 175A, that we must get our list from the Board of Elections. So we have to depend on them. We can't create our own list. It has to be from that. And so we have to depend on them. And unfortunately, there wasn't a way to determine that there was mistakes in it until the actual election occurred. We do know now that we have permission by our lawyer to use those affidavits, that if this should occur in the future, we have a mechanism to capture those votes and then analyze them. It doesn't mean that they necessarily, I mean, they still have to be proven that they are in the district, but we would have a way to capture it. But it was, even as of the day of the election, not verified that that was legal for us to apply that mechanism, even if we had called the Board of Elections and said, what do we do? So that's the answer to your question. I appreciate it. Like I said, I wouldn't have been able to go either. Any other comments? Mr. Breeze?
I have a couple questions, dating back to the 9th when we had the emergency meeting here. Brought to our attention that this form was handed out. George, you see it? Everyone can see it. Were these collected by the other commissioners after the night of the emergency meeting? They were collected, they were given to Phil, I have it on video.
I seen one, but I don't have any.
They put them right to you and gave them to you on the table that night,
I don't have any,
so they disappeared.
apparently.
Oh,
Go
all
back to
right,
the recording and see it.
I did.
I don't have that.
All right. So we'll go to the email list. I want to just bring that up real quick. This is stated from the video that I took from the minutes. 8:25, Jeff Ketchmark said the concern was brought to them by a person in the public. There is a list generated of names stating names to avoid, and it was made by an active fire person. The concern was there are names on that list, and what's the ramifications of this? Mike Long then asked, I am not sure I heard something correctly. I think that someone got a hold of the list that was not sent to, got a hold of the list, and commissioners circulated the list to everyone on the petition. Is that correct? 5203 on the recording, Ryan Duvall answered, that is not correct. Mike Long asked who circulated it. Ryan Duvall said that he did not know where it began. Phil Ruda also did not know who sent it, Ryan Duvall. There were multiple people that knew about it before it got to us. I have the email, and I have a signed statement from a public citizen that says that, hold on, let me get to it here. Ryan and Kim Duvall met this person at Home Depot, brought it up to Ryan Duvall to say he wasn't understanding exactly what happened. Ryan then asked if he could see the phone to send himself the email, which he did, and I have the time and date that was sent. So, any answers on that? Because it's right on video that you two guys that knew nothing about where this list came from and who sent it out. I have the email. I have the email sent from the person's phone to your phone.
2 minutes is up, Jeff. I'm
Thank
sorry.
You've been heard, thank you very much.
Okay, no comments?
No comment.
Okay. Any other public comments? Yes?
So, Commissioners and Secretary, I brought my mom in to vote on December 13th. We had to walk past a group of people in fire department coats. My mom was told she couldn't vote. No provisional ballots were available to her. We even known about the person supervising the vote. When I left with my mom, we had to walk past those same people. And no one was enforcing or following the 100-foot loitering signs within the election area. They were clearly posted around the building.
Can I stop you for a second? The 100 foot is for electioneering, not loitering.
Okay. I found this thing's embroidery also. So my mother was in tears when I drove her home wondering if she had done something wrong or wouldn't ever be able to vote again. And I'm just very shameful on whoever was in charge of the vote. Later I went to vote with my family and the same fire people were still in the same place. Again, it appeared that there was no true control. I did not have any issue voting. I did contact the Board of Elections with the concerns about my mom, for my mom, and I was told by the Board of Elections they did not run, conduct, or facilitate fire district elections. They are being conducted by the clerk, treasurer, secretary of the fire district, and that they were investigating the Bailey Road residents. When I asked about a map of the district, I got an email back that they do not have such a map, that we are currently working with the county planning department, 911, and the county real property tax office. So my mother, 85-year-old mother, was told she was not in the district, which is up to the discretion of whom to decide who the district is, but he had alluded to that earlier. But I think as commissioners and secretary that you should have a better way for future votes to control the flow and the mob, like since when people walk in from the public. And if I knew the names of those people, I would have them listed. But I have reported this to the Attorney General because under state and federal laws, it's illegal for anyone to intimidate, threaten, or coerce voters in an effort to interfere with their right to vote. And I believe even though you do not have the loitering, if it said no loitering, just having people in East Bloomfield Fire Department jackets standing in a row just inside the door is a big concern. So that is reported to the Attorney General. And I'm waiting for the
Thank you for your comments. I've addressed the situation about how the list got generated, and again, I'm falling in the same bucket. I would not have been able to vote. This has been corrected by the Board of Elections. We will have a mechanism to address it next year. Like I said, unfortunately, it wasn't proven that was a legal mechanism to even use this year. It had to be approved by our board. And so we are addressing everything we can. For in terms of the firemen and things like that, was there anything verbal made, any instances?
No, but they were standing in a row, shoulder to shoulder, just inside the door, and my mother almost turned around and walked out because she was so afraid.
Okay. All right. Yes.
I'd like to reply to
Yeah,
that. Joyce Cotman,
recognize Joyce
Fire
Cotman.
Department Secretary.
Sorry.
I was one of the ones in the hall.
Excuse me, just a minute. Yes.
I don't believe the point of order should, a point of order should be taken. I do not, I need the response from you, not from another.
Okay,
Well, I was not here. I was 2,000 miles away on another continent, so I can't address the situation because I was not here.
I'm just doing a public comment.
And the comment is noted. Thank you. Same answer as these gentlemen. I understand and appreciate what you're saying.
I just did not think, I do need someone from the public comment area to talk to me.
You don't, or you? I didn't.
No, I do not. I'm addressing you, not the people behind me.
Any comments on that, Joe?
No, you've been here. Thank you very much.
Okay. Joyce Cotman.
I was in the hall when they came through. I personally did not want to be near that family as they voted. I was waiting until they were done and left. And I was also discussing other fire department business, as I am also the fire department secretary and I do multiple other things around here. So yes, we were standing down there, but as they left, they were standing in the hallway looking at pictures and such. I mean,
Okay.
I'm just stating a fact.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, next. You are?
Rebecca Rhoda.
Thank you.
I would like to reiterate what my mother said about my grandmother. This is something she wrote herself. When I went to vote on December 13th, I walked into the firehouse and was met with a wall of fire people. I could tell by their jackets. I wanted to turn and leave, but my daughter encouraged me to keep going. I waited in line for 10 minutes to get my ballot. I was asked my name. The man could not find it listed. The lady next to him said, "You're not in the district. You cannot vote." I was puzzled. I said, "I've lived in the same place for 58 years. Did I do something wrong?" I was told no, that I could not vote. Even though I've been able to vote in the past, my daughter asked for a provisional ballot that should be available. They did not have one. I gave my name, phone number, and my daughter's number for an explanation later. When I left, I had walked past the same fireman standing in the hallway. Why am I not in the district? I got a letter asking for a donation to the fire department. I can't vote. I am in the Victor district, so what will come if I have a fire in my house? Who will come for me?
Thank you, and I'd like to address it again, that was the error of the Board of Elections, and you are in the fire district if you're one of those addresses that was identified. And it never was dropped off the run card from 911, so that's not an issue of an actual response. The error lied in the translation from the data with the federal to state to county level at the Board of Elections. They have identified it was their error, and they have corrected it. So I do apologize for those situations. And once again, I was in the same situation because my address and my whole street was left off. I was not here to witness anything that went on in terms of intimidation, but I do appreciate those comments. Thank you.
The 20 minutes for public comment is over.
20 minutes ago? Time? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. The fire department?
Yes, Steve Renee, President of the Fire Department. I just want to thank the board for the meal they provided for the firemen on their December meeting on December 30th. Thank you very much.
Anything else? Everything was good? Everything was okay?
No.
It was an awful lot.
No.
All right, minutes, meeting minutes from November 21st, the regular fire district meeting, and December 9th meeting. You've all got a copy of the minutes. Let's approve the November 21st minutes first. Any discussion or comment, corrections?
I didn't see it.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Rose, seconded by Commissioner Lecters to approve the November minutes. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. December 9th minutes. I read them over. I wasn't here, so I can't speak to it. But can we have a motion to approve the December 9th minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Second? Okay, I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, we have 2 noes, we have 2 ayes. And we have no discussion about why, but then per Robert's Rules of Order, that motion fails. So we will not have the minutes approved. They will, however, be available in draft form until such time as they do get approved.
I have extra copies here.
And we can discuss this at a future meeting then. Okay, membership.
Due to the cancellation of the membership meeting last month because of whatever reasons, let's pay to somebody else about it. I don't-
What were the reasons, by the way, do you know?
There was nothing on the
I
agenda.
think it had to do with the dinner being ordered by the fire.
They usually meet an hour
commissioners.
before our meeting.
Yeah.
And the meeting, the dinner started at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I think Pete and I talked on the phone and there was no
There
agenda.
was
so-
nothing, as far as the membership committee was aware, there was nothing to discuss other than the points and physicals, which had been discussed at previous meetings. So I think the dinner started at 6, so there's nothing to come to these meetings. So.
Okay. Very good. Chief's report.
Letters and reminders for points and physicals have been sent out. November run report, 15 calls for the month, 5 EMS, that's MVA, automatic alarm, CO detector, fill-in and standby in East Allen, mutual aid tankers in Naples for structure fire, a lawnmower fire, an odor of gas, 2 water problems, and an EMS echo CPR. Taking us to 177 calls for the year, For comparison, we were at 209 same time last year. Participated in the Ontario County Holiday Convoy on Saturday, December 3rd. I think at the peak, we were almost at 50 emergency vehicles that trains that went all over the county. We also provided apparatus, traffic control, and fire police for the Bloomfield Christmas tree lighting on Sunday, December 4th. I have a member that needs to be added to the LENS program, driver approved for the brush truck, Jeff Breeds. For those of you who don't know, we use it's called the License Event Notification System, LENS.
Is Jeff already on the LENS list? I
don't
thought he
believe
was.
so.
Okay.
Anytime your license has an event, parking tickets, moving violation, the fire district is notified. It's just to make sure that if you do have an incident, that the fire district is aware of it because you are an approved driver of apparatus. Had a request from a couple of members to take an apparatus to the last of the Golisano Good Night Lights, which is the emergency responder lineup and light parade out in front of Golisano Children's Hospital. That would be December 21st, so that's what, Wednesday. Discussion about taking 752. Wanted to see if the commissioners were okay with that. We've done this in the past with no issues, other than we blow a fan belt from here.
712 last year.
712 last year. We were thinking about keeping it to a smaller crew to go with mini pumper 752.
I have no problem that you want that as a motion.
Typically just.
I think in light of the gas budget and overages you guys are always claiming, I think we probably maybe gonna put one of those to rest 1 year.
Okay.
That's a discussion.
So I'll put that to a motion then. So sending a truck to the Golisano Lights for the sick children, setting 752. I'll make a motion that we do. Can I get a second?
No, second.
You have a second? Any discussion?
I just think that with everybody commenting about the gas budget, if we're gonna save on gas, we're gonna save it on something that's not really saving anybody's lives or anything like that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
No, I'm correct.
Okay, so that's ayes have it. Thank you.
So that just to be, that is approved.
I guess that is a
I will make notifications to be approved, and I'll send a Bricks reminder out to the membership to let them know that the truck will be gone for a couple of hours. I have two training. One is a company officer leadership training, which will be taking place in February. It's a 2-day seminar in Hilton. It's $200 per person. This is something we have attended in the past. And it is looking for up to 4 people to attend that. And the second one is not until November 8th of 2023. This one is in the New Henrietta Fire Training Center. This is a series on truck work, forcible entry, research and rescue, things like that. So looking for approval for that. That is $35 per person.
Do you want to do that now or wait until 7 months away?
I bring it up now only because these seminars typically are filled fairly quickly. And I don't want to lose an opportunity to get seats or a seat or seats, depending on who's interested. So normally something in November of next year, I would wait, but these seminars typically fill fairly quickly, and they send them out fairly early so that they can try to book them. So
When was the first one?
I'm sorry?
When was
the training officer?
February 17, 18.
Does that training meet the qualifications as set by the district for?
This is a seminar, it's not a state class. It's put on by the New York State Association of Fire Chiefs,
Yep.
but it is not a state
So it does not
OFTC
meet the
training.
requirements.
How many people were you looking for the second one?
I didn't have a number, only because at $35 a person, it's relatively inexpensive to take a fair number of people. I would say, and I'm just guessing, somewhere between 6 and 10 people at the most.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead then and put that in form of a motion that we send 4 people to the training officer training in Hilton, $200 each, and up to, let's say, 6 for the November 2023 training, $35 each. Can I get a second for that?
I'll second.
Any second by Zach? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, that's 2 noes, canceling it out, so that is not approved. Thank you.
One thing I had under equipment gear repair is one of our 4-gas meters is due for calibration. That should go out this week. I'll have until procurement reviews.
Okay. Procurement, and I'll say that that is both the chief and Bruce right now, as you hand it over. I have given Bruce a procurement assignment relating to the co-revac testing film and arrangement with the lift and the moving of the vehicles and all that. All right, go ahead, any procurement?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bruce Treat. Bruce is our new purchasing officer.
We had a need for AED supplies. I'm talking to the chief about that. A time-sensitive thing. And so we ordered 6 adult pads, $48 each. The main lithium batteries, 6 of those, I'm sorry, 3 of those. And that was at $128 each. Pediatric pads at $89. Some lithium 9-volt batteries, $12 each at $36. The freight is going to be $32, so that total purchase came to $12.74. The lowest quote and pricing I could get was on a lithium battery, and that would have been double from what we're paying. I had a request from Jack to get a UPS backup for his computer.
Yes, the one that runs the fob computer, I discovered when the generator tripped on, UPS is no longer any good. So it doesn't hold long enough charge to keep the computer running in power flickers. So we need a new one of those to make sure that fob, I think that's why the door didn't unlock the other time for you, because the computer wasn't on.
I have a quote for $85.99 for that unit.
Is any of those approved?
That is not going to approve.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we purchase the universal power supply there, uninterrupted power supply there for, what was it,
$85.99.
$85.99?
Yeah.
And where was that from again?
Lowest price I could find was Best Buy.
That's fine, that's fine.
I'll second that. All right, that's motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Just
Aye.
confirm,
Any
who's
opposed?
seconded that? Is that Brian?
Yeah.
Okay, that motion passes. Anything else on the procurement?
No.
I just had a couple quick things. We had applied for the Department of Environmental Conservation Assistant Firefighter grants for this year. We were not successful, which is not surprising. We've been successful the previous year. So our points and our everything resets. They encourage us to apply every year, which will be in 2023. question on the old computer in the chief's office and the extractor installation. Not sure if that lands under old business or...
You can bring it up under John.
Okay. What would you like to do with the old computer from the chief's office? If the new one is up and running and installed, I believe before you do anything, you need to declare it surplus. And then, currently living in...
I was gonna say, all our older computer equipment is currently living in the inner sanctum there. So we might as well just put it with the other old computers, just so we have it for whatever reason.
All right.
Extractor?
The commissioners approved the purchase of a gear extractor and drying cabinet at the last commissioners meeting. I was directed to obtain some quotes for the installation. The plumbing work from Dave Stark and Plumbing. Labor and materials is about $4,400. We have to go through a concrete block wall. And based on my conversation with Dave, he was going to have some conversation with the code enforcement office. And the thought was to do the install as though it had been built the day the station was built, with cast iron and copper versus PVC and PEX. We have not got another quote for that work because we started with Dave. But apparently the cost of cast iron pipe and copper is someplace north of really expensive. He did say that if it took him less time, that he would certainly take care of the fire department. But I'm not exactly sure how to proceed at this point. Looking for a little direction. We're going to end up going into the drain in the laundry room. And we're going to need to build a small platform that covers the pipe that comes through the wall. That is the only drain big enough on that side of the building. There's no floor drain on the opposite side of the wall. So there's a little more to it. The other thing that's not included in this is an electrical drop for this, as well as for the drying cabinet, which is both need to be three-phase. Doing some looking around at the panels. There's not a lot of room in the panel that's in the link. However, there is room in the sub-panel in the ready room, and there is conduit that is stubbed through the wall already. So just have not had a chance to have an electrician come in and look at it. And for the life of me, couldn't remember the name of the gentleman that did the generator work.
Believe it.
Thank you. Didn't know if that was somebody we needed to contact for that, just so that we have an idea of what's involved.
Are you going to get multiple quotes on that?
I think probably there should be, multiple quotes for plumbing and electric. But again, I hadn't had a chance to get tangled up with anybody else other than them.
Who's the one that did the wiring upstairs for the...
Same guy. I have his number, I gave you.
For the exercise room?
Yeah, same guy.
What
It
was
was
it?
Wire Right.
Wire Right, that's right, Wire Right.
Where did you end up with the drying cabinet? Is that at the $20,250 with the washer and the cabinet and everything? Just to see if there's extra money that we already budgeted for?
We did not do, no, so that was the cabinet and the extractor.
Okay.
Delivered and installed, but it's installed to the utilities that are stubbed in by the district, so.
Well, I just saw here it says utilities not included, so I just want to make sure on their last meeting minutes. At last meeting, we approved the $20,250.
Right,
And it
so.
says no utilities, so I just want to make sure.
Right, they will connect to the utilities that are stubbed in, but the district needs to get them, I think they need to be within 4 feet. But they will make the final connections to wherever it's going to land.
Okay.
Took a look at maybe trying to truck bay, but there's no drain other than the floor drains. And power would have to go literally back across the entire truck bay, because it is,
I think the link in that area is
it
probably
seemed
the
to
best
make the
place
most
for it.
sense. Unfortunately,
That is the best place.
there's a concrete block
Yeah.
wall in between, so.
It's usually easily reached though.
Yeah, but however, in looking a little closer, there appears to be at least the hot and cold for the washer right now. Looks like it runs right through the block at some point, so a little bit of care before they go through the wall.
Yep.
So I will continue to work on quotes for plumbing and electric. And I'll
Let's get to the work next one.
Yep. And that's all I have. Oh, the only other thing I had is, in an attempt to resurrect the old chief's computer, you'll recall I did purchase a copy of Windows 10. However, the new computer came preloaded with that. So in a nice chat with the Windows sales associate, we are $149.43 to the good. That's what we're trying to come. And that is all I have under procurement.
Speaking of computers, Zach says that today, when he went in, and Heather, I believe you also went into the district computer, all the files have been wiped? Do we know how that happened?
I was able to find them buried in another folder, but,
In the recycle folder.
yeah.
We don't know how that occurred.
Okay.
Interesting.
Monitor, I guess I'll do another backup. Yeah, but I was able to find them that time. Fortunately, I had backup that was pretty recent, so.
I think we have some mischief. Okay, treasurer's report.
So, okay. On tonight's treasurer's report, we got a few bills that came in afterwards, but we'll start with what was reported as of last Wednesday. So the Association of Fire Districts, that is our annual membership, which we do have their newsletter here. I'll go through Bruce for his procurement work. Kent Neighborhood Emergency Squad, they did the CPR training last month, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Churchville, that was shipping for the year we purchased last year. EFPR, that was a continuance for the audit work. Empire Access, that was internet. Fern, that was cleaning. Frontier, that was telephone. Gatehouse, those were for the legal notices that Heather had posted regarding the election. Health work, so we had a few physicals. Heather for her work here. Johnson Paper, that was for another box of toilet paper. National Fuel, the notice is starting to go up because it's getting colder for our natural gas. Nationwide Cardiovascular, this is the AED supplies that Bruce was just talking about. Now there is a correction. The first invoice was wrong, so Bruce went and had him redo it. Well, the second invoice was wrong, and that was the one I have here. So the $1,334 is wrong. It should read $1,274. So I'll have a new check to correct that. Parish of Grassy was for our monthly bookkeeping. U.S. Postal Service was for our annual P.O. box fee for that, so we can get our mail. In addition, since Wednesday, I've gotten a few extra bills. Hood contracting for salting and plowing in November, $480. In addition to that,
Correct me if I'm wrong, that's a per trip rate this year?
That's correct.
Yeah. EV warning systems, looks like you bought a lens for Wayland 900.
752, it was completely missing one of the warning light lenses.
Okay, so that was an additional $113.66. I need two $70 checks for both of our election workers for the other night. Let's see, fuel, gas and diesel for November, that's going to be an additional $507.70. For reference, we used 41 gallons of gas at roughly $1.20 a gallon, or sorry, $3.20 a gallon. And diesel was 78.5 gallons at roughly $4.80 a gallon. Carl, he did the basin drain in the parking lot and filled in the sinking grate. That was another $850. Between the reports listed and the additional bills, a total of $10,507.24 to be paid.
And move we pay the bills for the $10,507.24.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. You need to move money over?
Yes, I would like to move $11,000 from our savings to our checking to cover the bills.
I'll make a motion that we move $11,000 for Zach's direction to pay the bills. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. All in favor, or any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is carried.
Moving through the report, if you go to the bank rec, you're going to see there's a few outstanding checks. I'm going to have Don void out the Culligan and the Churchville checks. The Culligan one was the one that was lost in the mail. The Churchville one last month, I didn't realize that was for last year's year, not this year's year, and all we had to pay was the shipping. So that's why the shipping showed up this month. I will void last month's check for the year because we've already paid it. And the rest, I believe, have been cashed since the end of the month. But we had the Irish Mafia, that was for the meals. Pinsky was for continued legal advice. Turnout Express, we had some gear cleaning, and then Bricks was the annual subscription for the dispatching system that the department uses. As of December 14th, the balance sheet showed a total of $211,583.07 in the CD, $12,216.15 in the checking, and in the savings, $647,034.72. The year as a whole, I will have Don update this for the bills that we're going to be paying tonight in addition to these reports, so I can get an accurate end of year amount, and then I will bring next month line items that we need to move to cover budget lines, but currently we are slightly over budget in utilities, over budget in administration, over budget in fuel, over budget in truck, and under budget in all the other line items. After all those bills, less what we've added tonight, the net income per se, at the end of November is $109,045.41. I will get a more hard, fast number for potential transfer to the equipment reserve fund for next month's meeting. Any questions on the financial statements?
We did receive an email from the auditor asking some standard questions, as you had advised, and I did answer and send that back.
Yep, they are waiting. We are waiting on state approval for the one amendment we had to make to the AUD for a timing issue with accounts payable. So as soon as the state approves that change, that will be finished.
Was that the same that you sent?
Yes, they sent it to you as well.
There's like a dozen standard questions.
Yeah, I don't remember. Still on the computer.
Any other questions on the financial reports, statements, or correspondence? Correspondence. Jeff isn't here. I give this to him, but it's regarding the continuation of our auto policy. So I will. It's dated December 13th.
What does it do?
The policy expires 3/1, so we've got a little time, but we shouldn't wait on it. So I'll email Jeff, let him know it's here. We received a Christmas card from New York State Site Power, wishing us the best holiday wishes. They didn't include this year the nice little token for free service.
They're the ones that service our generator.
Let's see, we got a Christmas card from Empire Access. They do our internet, wishing us happy holidays. Received a happy holidays Christmas card from Graves Brothers, who replaced a few of our windows around here.
And we need to contact to replace the rest.
Yes. And then the only other thing I have is our newsletter from the Association of Fire Districts that they send out bi-monthly. That is all I have for correspondence.
Okay, apparatus, truck rust proofing status, is that taken care of?
I went down, and then Peter said that he was going to handle it directly. I gave Gary his information and asked
You never
him.
called me.
He hasn't called?
No, so I took it upon myself to go down and take care of it. Apparently someone had scheduled it for the 30th of December. I told them I was not going to do trucks on my day off. So it is now scheduled for December 27th and 28th, of which I'm taking at least one full vacation day. I have a couple of people lined up to help me move apparatus around. He's going to let them drip for about an hour after he completes them, and we'll do the shuffle. Tentatively, the
Is he going
schedule.
to do it there at his location?
Yes, tentatively, the schedule is to do Jeep truck, brush truck, mini pumper, and hopefully the tanker, the first day, and then do the 2 big trucks the second day. But if we need to push the tanker to the second day, he's more than capable.
What date did you say it was?
27, 28 next week. 7/12, air brake leak. Air brakes has leak in multiple locations, to the point when you started the truck, you had to wait for the air pressure to build before you could release the parking brake. So we found a leak at the air transfer valve at the no smoke, which is the diesel exhaust filter on that truck. There's 2 valves in and out, both of those were leaking. Numerous fittings on the frame and chassis, including one under the brake pedal, was leaking here. All of the fittings that the EV Tech could find were tightened and or replaced as needed. The main air brake valve, which is tied to the main tank as well as the reserve tank, was cracked and bleeding air, which is why it would not hold air at all.
This was 7/12,
This
right?
is 7/12. He ordered a valve, however, it came in with 2 extra ports, which were not right, so he got another one, installed that today. And supposedly the truck had 127 pounds of air when he left at about 5 o'clock, give or take, and we're already down to 110 pounds. So we still have a continuing air leak on that truck. It's not as bad, but it's still dropping air. The loose tailpipe was secured as well. 7:52, we have a do not move the apparatus indicator due to a missing rear compartment door sensor. For those of you that don't know, fire trucks have a big, nasty, red blinking light on the dash. If the doors are open or a compartment door is left ajar, it yells and screams at you not to move. This has been an issue for several months. The first sensor he got didn't work. He has another sensor on order. If that doesn't work, it is more than likely the sensor module, which is installed under the dash. We will have an answer hopefully either this week or next as to what, if the new sensor is working.
Which truck was that?
752.
This is Churchville?
Churchville,
Even though it's not a Pierce vessel?
yeah, compartment door sensors are compartment door sensors, and they have access to KME parts as much as they have access to any other manufacturer.
Isn't that the truck you said you wanted to take?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We have a workaround for it,
Oh.
and it's not an issue, it's not an operational issue, it's just, at this point, it becomes an annoyance. He's got a temporary patch on it, but it's not, shouldn't be left. There's 2 work lights at the pump panel, both are LED strip lights up underneath the protective hood. One is an actual work light, the other is a pump and gear engagement light. The operator goes, once the truck is in pump gear, can look at that light and say, yep, that truck is in gear. One of those strip lights has a corroded connection at the one end and is no longer working, and the pump engagement light has the beginnings of corrosion on the opposite end. So, the one that's not working has been ordered, and the one that's probably not going to work has been ordered, because you basically have to tear them both out to make a change. So that is 752, and that truck is 10 years old this year. The only other note I had on that truck is that we still need to work on getting a hose bed tarp with cross lays put in place, because most of the snaps have given up.
So for the public also, 7/12, when he mentioned the air brake leak, is the next truck that's scheduled to be replaced in the order of replacement. We started to see the same kind of thing happen with 7-Eleven when that started getting old. Once the trucks start getting towards 20 years, we start having all these nickel and dime problems. And we even had a rather significant pump problem with 7-Eleven, right? 7-Eleven with a corroded pump because of the water.
No, it was the impeller.
Impeller.
That was
We
the,
actually replaced the impeller in 712 once, and we replaced the impeller in 752 once, both of which are...
and the pump housing.
And the pump housing, the extremely hard Bloomfield public water basically eats those things right out, to the point where the one truck would not pump at its rated capacity.
You also, on 7-Eleven, replaced the drive shaft.
The collectors, the drive.
Done before.
Yeah. The moral of the story is that's why we have a 20-year replacement policy, because things start happening.
How old is 712?
2007.
07.
07. So
17 years old? No, not quite.
741, no issues.
15.
751 is the brush truck, because that pump sits out and exposed and it has been winterized. And as mentioned previously, Jeff Breeze is our newest clear operator on that truck. That is all I have.
Chief?
Yes.
So you're at 751, Benjamin says that there's a thing on the board up there about the
weather seals, yep.
Weather seals,
Yep.
and it says that the Pierce Fire dealer, is that something they would?
Yes, I'm actually going to try to work through Saks because they have access to a lot of OEM
It's a
parts.
Ford thing, too.
Yeah, it's a-
Just the plastic
It's
pulls
a
out
really
and the
crappy
rubber
design,
strip falls off.
all the plastic rivets pop out, so, yep.
Did it?
That's all I have under apparatus.
Okay, buildings.
So the one thing I've got is, I didn't check on Grade Brothers because I thought they were just gonna call me back when I was ready. They have not, so you guys will call it.
To reschedule the replacement of the
The one with the wrong
windows,
bids on it.
the one up, right, the one up by the ready room, and then the one in the chief's, the district office, correct?
Yeah. And then as far as the window treatments go, Carl had informed me today that he no longer wants to work for the district or fire department, so he'll have to start from scratch on that, I'm afraid.
Okay.
And two things that are left unfinished.
But he did order the window treatments, and when they come in,
He said he
we'll
was
just have to
waiting
find
on
another
swatches.
person.
He was waiting on swatches the last I talked to him, and I thought he had them on order, however, he had to have gotten money in order to order them, I think.
Okay, so that's a
So
dead
I'll
issue.
call him to be sure of that, and I'll let you know tomorrow.
Okay.
I have to, so I have a few hours in the morning to do that. Two things that are left undone yet. The pump in the elevator down in the bottom has never been replaced.
I thought we had that replaced when we had it cleaned out.
There was no plumbing, never came and replaced it, because I was waiting for them to replace the seals that were leaking before they replaced the pump, because there was no point in doing the other. I was gonna try to get them done at the same time, but just didn't, timing was not right. So that's still hanging.
Okay.
And on the heat pumps, or whatever you guys call them, there's a switch on that that still is, what do you want to call
Oh,
it?
there's-
Manual mower?
Correct. So Ryan says it's fine that way. However,
Actually-
it is going to have to be addressed at some point.
It's worked better than it has in the last 4 years.
Yeah, so he said it actually is fine, so I just wanted to tell you, those are the two things that I know that are still hanging. I think it's, I can't remember the name of the company that actually runs that.
Dakin, the Dakin.
Yes, they're the ones that actually have to come and replace that switch, and it's, I remember Paul from Ryan's telling me that it was kind of a, proprietary kind of thing, so that they're not going to get it or not. That's all I can think of that I've left hanging for my part of it.
I guess under buildings the other day when Ben reported that the circulator pump up in the mezzanine sounded like it was sucking air. Well, the guy came and he said it was he called it flat. So he went, there's a valve up at the top that's supposed to purge air as it gets in there. Well, the valve was sticking, so it wasn't going to purge the air. So he freed up the valve. He cleared all the air out of the lines. Took him, I don't know, 40 minutes to clear all the air, but he got all the air out. It was heating fine. I get to see the bill for it.
So it's repaired.
It's repaired.
That wasn't part of the replacing that circulator valve pump or whatever that valve.
Nope, he didn't mention that both pumps, especially the one that we just replaced, were working correctly. It just, there was no water in the system to really pump. So,
I guess I would have thought they would smell. I wasn't here, so.
well, it was a different valve and a different part of the piping. It looked like a valve.
Okay, thanks.
That's hopefully fixed by next week.
All right, grounds?
I got a couple of things that were brought to my attention. Sure, over the weekend, noticed that out on the north wall by the back door, there's a 6 or 8 inch piece of PVC that comes through the wall. It has ice forming on it. It is the drain for your backflow preventers, which is part of the sprinkler system in the building. There are 3 separate leaks in your backflow valves. Valve 1, 2, and 3 are all dripping water. It's running down the drain, out that pipe, and freezing with the outside air. If you take a walk out there right now, there's probably a good chunk of ice floating around out there. The mezzanine roof is still leaking. There's a puddle behind the air compressor, which is the brown low one that supplies the truck bay air. There's a PVC pipe on the west wall over by the hose rack that's leaking when it rains.
Where was that? I'm sorry.
Goes straight across the truck bay where the hose rack is.
Oh, yeah.
There's a PVC pipe that comes down. It used to be a vent pipe. When it rains, it leaks. And then I had some question about the fire alarm panel.
Oh, I was gonna call Andy, because the last I spoke with him, they were trying to get one. Apparently the one that fits in that cabinet is hard to obtain right now.
Naturally.
So he at the time told me it was like 6 months, and we're at like month 4 right now. So I'll make a note to call Andy about the status of that box.
The only reason I bring it up is we responded here to an automatic fire alarm on the 9th. And typically that alarm panel, you should be able to review the zone or what sensor or what head, but there's no way to access the menu because the entire panel is locked down. So it hasn't resurfaced, but
We knew that panel was bad, we were going to replace it.
Yeah, we've been trying to.
Did they replace it with used unit or something?
They put another one in there that they was more better in some way because it worked in superior fashion than the one that was in there, but it's still only like a temporary fix. They've got to get new guts for the whole thing. But because this one is completely obsolete, they've got to get a different one, and apparently that's unobtainium right now.
I know we've talked about it in the past, I just wanted to bring it up, and there was no way to review the alarm. If we get 3 automatic alarms, is it coming from the same head, it would be easy, we can isolate it that way, but without being able to review what's in the alarm log, no idea what.
And the backflow preventers, that's Ryan that does that, correct?
I believe.
That's correct.
Each valve has a hang tag on it, an inspection tag,
Yep.
and each tag is numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it's valve number 1, 2, and 3.
Jeff Catchmark and I were in there last month and noticed that not only do they leak, but they were made in such a way that there's a funnel trap underneath them that is there to catch that.
That's
So
what it's
it must be
doing.
designed to leak. They must,
No,
this is what I did.
there's enough water running out of, I think it's the number 2, or maybe the 3. It's like drip, 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 and there's enough ice out there where I walk by and it's probably not right.
No, must be dripping more in there.
The 2 of them are, you can stand there, you gotta wait a few seconds, but the one is
Oh, yeah, it's only supposed to be.
pretty noticeable. And it's right underneath, you can touch the bottom of the
Yeah,
back row.
it's
It's wet.
Yeah,
Yes.
Browns? So I had some questions, Ryan, on the survey and property update. Where are we with that?
Marks Engineering is passing us off to one of their subcontractors. Should probably hear from them after the holiday, I would imagine.
Who is it?
I don't know who their subcontractors, but Marks Engineering, our original contact, they said that they're too busy doing new surveys, so they've got someone that they work with fairly regularly that is supposed to be in contact with them.
Okay.
And then as far as the property restoration, I have not heard anything from the DA as far as if
They're waiting for us to take action.
well,
They were waiting for us to fix the property or do something else. I don't know if we're going to just do nothing.
well, I don't know, yeah, there's nothing we can do. We can't really do anything now.
Right.
It's just gonna be mowed, so.
I'll reach out to the district attorney's office and find out what's the status with that whole situation.
Yeah, like it's
The order of protection expired in November.
It seems as though he's been leaving everybody alone,
Yeah.
so. Other than that, as long as there's no complaints with the snowplow contractor,
The only thing I had was the other night when I texted, like, there was a couple of patches of some nasty black ice out there.
it seems like they came up and took care of everything, so. But as far as that, anything past that, I don't have anything.
All right, old business, we have website for the district, that's been pushed off to January, I believe, correct? Because he can't.
Yeah, he works expedited, so we can't, couldn't make tonight.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I know Commissioner Ketchmark is in here, and know he handles insurance. Is there, did we pass over that part yet? Or?
Well, I did pass over insurance because of the fact that he wasn't here.
My
but
apologies.
Yes.
Is it something we can go back to? Or?
Yes,
I apologize.
absolutely, insurance.
I made the district aware last month that the county will no longer be handling the PESH paperwork, including tracking and logging injuries. And that will, in 2023, become the responsibility of the fire district. There was a December 7th video conference that I attended. Did not see Commissioner Ketchmark on the list of attendees. This is kind of important. This is PESH, which is the New York State version of OSHA for public employee safety and health. It is going to be an extensive amount of work for the district. You're going to have to track and log and report all of these injuries. The county is still self-insured under workman's comp, but the injury tracking and logging and all of that is going to have to be handled by the district.
Do they have like boilerplate forms and procedures prepared for this, or is it all up to us to come up with that?
It's a little bit of both. So there's 1, 2, 3, I think there's 5 forms and then the log sheet. But it is going to probably need to designate someone, and actually probably, I've had some conversations with neighboring departments, and one of them has a full-time administrator that is going to handle it, but in this, because we don't, probably going to need to designate a primary and maybe a secondary in case someone's out of town or unavailable, because there is a serious time constraint to these injury reports, and there are fines associated with not reporting within the time frame. It's usually 24 hours, but if it's a serious injury or death, it's actually 8. So it's not something you need to do anything with tonight, but it might be something to think about, maybe for the organizational meeting or certainly the first business meeting in January. And I'm also looking for some clarification from the insurance company or Jeff. I received a phone call from your insurance carrier wanting to know what the status of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different firefighters was. The district is required to report an annual roster of interior firefighters, and this is for the mandatory cancer coverage that is administered by the Department of Homeland Security. I provide that list every year. However, there seems to be some question about, we have we have 2 career firefighters that also volunteer with us. And the question is you can't be insured by 2 separate organizations. So who has the primary insurance carriers for those? I'm assuming it's the career department, but I don't know that, and no one seems to be able to answer that question.
Who would be able to answer that, the firefighters themselves? I'm
thinking possibly Office of Fire Prevention and Control can probably lend some guidance to that. And then the other question is, there are 2 firefighters listed on this that are approaching the 5 years where they're no longer active. So anybody that's active has to be on here, and anybody that has been an interior firefighter in the past 5 years that is not active. That's the benchmark. But we're coming up to the end of that for one of them, and then it should be another year for the second one. Do they just get dropped off the list? Do they get, is it a footnote? Again, there's not a lot of guidance on this, and I just don't want anyone to have a lapse in coverage and be dropped for a year, and then the state can say, well, you didn't have them on your roster. It's, you know, so looking for a little guidance on that as well.
Okay. We'll have to follow up.
Again, the roster's been submitted, but I think the biggest pressing issue is a question of the career firefighters that also volunteer here, who has that primary coverage. I think the other, it doesn't hurt to have them on the list, but certainly don't want to jam them up if something does come up.
That it?
Yes, for sure, sorry.
Okay, new business. So there was a lot of discussion. I got a lot of calls regarding the special meeting of 12/9 and the circumstances surrounding that. I spent a lot of time on the phone and Friday and today consulting with Brad Pinsky, our district lawyer, Joe Frank, who's the lawyer for the Association of Fire Districts of the state of New York, and Tom Link, who's the regional director for the Association of Fire Districts for District 5, which includes our Rochester area. And sharing with them the scenario, the copy of the letter that went out to the community, and overall just what exactly was going on here. And after discussing with them, the situation appears that this was a response that Commissioners Rhoda, Catchmark, and Duval made as a result of a political campaign email that was sent by Mrs. Long on behalf of Mike Long running for office. So, with regards to that, the three of you, Commissioner Rhoda, Commissioner Catchmark, and Commissioner Duval, you met at some point in time prior to the December 9th public meeting in which the three of you made a decision to address the campaign question by the form of this letter. Is that correct?
I don't know. I have no comment.
You have no comment. That's correct. So the three of you met, and according to the meeting, you decided that your plan of action would be to create a letter and then send this letter to the people on the list that you felt had been offended. And Commissioner Catchmark was quoted as saying that you divided up the list and then you approached those people. According to review with Pinsky, Joe Frank, Tom Link, this is a political campaign about campaign practices made by Mrs. Long. This is not a public safety issue regarding the fire district. Political disputes are not within the jurisdiction or purview of the East Bloomfield Fire District, first of all. Second of all, in looking at the situation, there was no violation of any law by Mrs. Long in publishing an avoid contact list. In fact, she was exercising her right to campaign on behalf of her husband, Mike Long. There was no violation of rules and bylaws of the East Bloomfield Local Fire Department, which has no jurisdiction or control over political speech or campaigning. So there is not a, as alluded here, a infraction where Mrs. Long needs to be disciplinary action required. Email was not sent during a fire scene from the fire department or fire district computers or during a training event, and it was not done with the knowledge or approval of the chief, assistant chiefs, executive board, or members of the fire department. No jurisdiction on their behalf, no punishment, as is alluded to in this letter, is warranted. This is an example of political retribution, and the response to this situation by Commissioners Rhoda, Catchmark, and Duval, in my opinion, exceeded your authority as a commissioner of the fire district, overstepped protocol, and that you had a meeting between the three of you, that you discussed a plan of action. You completely excluded any knowledge of Commissioner Lecters and myself. We had no participation. You don't have the ability to have a group of three make a decision on behalf of the commissioners. And then this concludes a false statement where this at the bottom says the East Bloomfield Board of Fire District Commissioners taking this matter very seriously. This is a false document. This document is spurious. It basically purports to be from the fire district, but was never discussed at a public meeting such as this. It never was made open to the public to hear what was going on. Basically, I feel there have been several violations that have occurred as a result of this. And the first is malfeasance. You attempted to fraud the citizens of Bloomfield by providing this false and misleading document, basically saying that this came from the East Bloomfield Fire Commissioners. You took out of context the statement of to avoid contacting that Mrs. Long had put in the email in order to allude that this was now about providing fire district coverage or safety in times of emergencies. That was never mentioned. You did not tell the public that the context with this names to avoid list was distributed. This was about essentially sharing a campaign flyer for Mike Long. Instead, you insinuated the statement was to avoid providing public service or assistance at a time of need. This document also, if you look at it, meets the criteria and definition of libel and defamation of character. Because what you've done is you created a document, you disseminated this to members of the public containing false accusations, which you stated as fact, not opinion. You specifically named Joanne Long, which you would never do if this was a human resource document. And then you published this to multiple third parties, which caused damage to Joanne Long's name and reputation. And I believe that at this point, should Mr. and Mrs. Long decide to take legal action, they would have a case. Also, it violates the code of ethics that you, as a fire commissioner, and your oath of office swear to by providing false and misleading statements to the public. And you intentionally, the objective with this was to incite the public under false pretenses to make a complaint against either Mrs. Long or the fire department while not providing all the facts under false pretenses. The fact that you were comfortable and confident meeting in secret without the knowledge also was violating the open meeting laws, because if you three of you meet, you form a quorum. And by that notion, you are functioning as a fire district commissioner, and that needs to be published in advance, and that needs to be open to the public. You now say you don't know what happened to the forms, and you don't know, according to the special meeting, who wrote them. So I have a lot of concerns here, and right now I'm saying that based on all this, I think it would warrant that I'm asking for the three of you to resign.
Thank you for your opinion. I'm already out, so it doesn't matter. Tomorrow's my last day, so whatever you want to me.
I've got an attorney, so half of what you said, those are fairly bold claims, so I think you should keep that in mind as you speak. And as far as resigning, it's not going to happen. So like I said, I've got an attorney, and I'm not going to discuss this whole matter any further.
Can you tell me who wrote this, Mr. Duvall?
No.
Mr. Rowe, can you tell me who wrote
I
this?
don't know.
You don't know who wrote it, and yet you were distributing this in the community?
So I was doing it at the advice of the other commissioners, as I said on the recording last week, or on the 9th. So I was doing what I thought was the state people telling me to do.
Okay, and I talked to Joe Frank about that, and Joe Frank took a copy of this and said he never advised sending this out.
So I didn't speak to him specifically, so I should have done my own due diligence, you're right. So,
And Mr. Pinsky said that he would never have advised having this meeting.
and I had not talked to Mr. Pinsky on this.
Mr. Pinsky is aware. Mr. Pinsky is concerned to the point where he is asked to attend their next meeting, and he wants to have a closed-door session with the commissioners to discuss what is and isn't appropriate actions of a fire commissioner. So he will be attending our next meeting.
That won't be, so I won't be here, I'll be on.
I just think the actions of the past 2 weeks are basically appalling, and I'm embarrassed, and I'd like to apologize to the community for this. It just should never have happened. And the fact that you're not willing to confess who wrote a document that you handed out is quite damning in my opinion.
I don't know, so it's
Very good.
it came from the state, well, I don't know.
I can assure you it did not come from the state.
I appreciate your opinion.
Mr. Chairman, there was some assertions at that meeting with the fire department that choose not to respond to deliver service.
That's correct.
That statement is not new. It's been said several times. Contacted the 911 center. as far back as they come up without making a massive research project, was 2018. So I didn't run the numbers from 2018 to year to date. Total calls are 923 calls for service, of which there are 2 categorized as no response, meaning the East Bloomfield Fire Department did not answer up. The first one is from January 31st, 2019. That date should ring a bell for most of us. It was the motel fire on 5 and 20. At 4:23 a.m., we received a call for a carbon monoxide alarm. The standby fill-in crew sitting on the East Bloomfield floor, Lima, responded to that call. Technically, we did not turn out for that call. However, we were a little busy, and the district was covered by our mutual aid companies. This is our policy and procedure. Second one is from July 2nd of last year. This was I'm not sure why, and I'm having them look into it. It's coded as a no response. However, we received the alarm at 16:24, responded at 16:28, and arrived at 16:33 to the scene of a mutual aid structure fire in Lyman. So I'm not sure why that's coded as a no response. I have the times. It may be simply a recording error at the 911 center because there were multiple departments sent at the same time. They're looking into it, but those are the only 2 instances in the last 5 years that this department has not turned out for a call.
I have, as a result of discussing this with the district's lawyers and that, also at the advice of Tom Link, the regional director for the Association of Fire Districts of the State of New York, I have a call into the New York State Office of the Comptroller regarding issues of investigation of whether this constituted malfeasance and, again, violation of code of ethics and oath of office. So we'll be following up on that, and more to come. Any comments? Deeply disappointed, but thank you very much, nonetheless. All right, at this point, any other new business that I didn't bring up? Anything else?
I will be out of town starting Friday through the end of the year, so if something happens, I will be around. I'll be back on the 1st.
Yeah, the one during your room has to be covered, someone's got to put some prisoner or doors or whatever.
Okay.
I'll be available, so I'm not going anywhere, so I'll be able to be here and take care
I
of
can help for most of it. I normally do the 30th for that weekend, but I can
Yeah.
make sure I've got it all.
it. Next one is.
And I've got the
remember,
email access now.
There was one in February coming up.
Yeah, so I have not scheduled that yet, seeing as it's a couple months out, but I will.
If there's no other business, then I'm going to ask for adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We are adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.